Alright, I wanted to make a quick video going over what my current Visual Studio Code setup is. So that's extension settings. Right now it's not too crazy, but I just wanted to document it so that I had something to look back on, and you guys can kind of see how my thought process evolves, um, and all that. I'm not crazy on like really customizing your setting. I think just sticking with the defaults makes a lot of sense, for two main reasons. One is that you just waste a lot of time, um, thinking that, oh, I know better than the people who design VS Code or whatever application. And normally those people who design that application are really freaking smart, and there's a reason why they put a setting the way they set it. Um, the other reason is if you are ever in a situation where you're going to be using someone else's whatever that thing is that you're editing, you that you'll run into issues, or someone is going to be using yours. It can just kind of help with making it less confusing. Now that said, like if you've been using the defaults for a while, and when I say a while, like probably a few months to a year, just kind of depending on the context of what it is that you're using, and you still are annoyed and want to change it and feel like, oh, if I just change this one thing, more speed, more consistency, whatever benefit it is that you think you'll see, then for sure go ahead and change it. Um, but yeah, anyway, those are kind of my thoughts. So over here I've got just a few extensions installed, and I do have some more installed on this. So this is my, let me move my camera over here. This is my profile specifically for, let me pull it up, profiles, specifically for my content creation, I guess you could call it, my online persona. So I am Isaac Ledlow. It's like across every single platform there is out there. And the reason why I'm doing that is just to keep everything separate from my own personal email address, try and reduce the chance of getting hacked or whatever. Try and keep everything separate. So in Visual Studio, you can have Visual Studio Code. You can have different profiles that will modify the user settings. And let me pull up real quick. Is it one of these? These are the docs for Visual Studio Code, and one of these had a really good breakdown. Here it is. Settings. I'm not even going to pretend that I know how to pronounce that. Precedence. There we go. Jeez. Settings precedence. So this is just which ones take effect over. So you've got like the default settings, and then any user settings, and you can kind of go down workspace settings, folder settings, yada yada yada. So if profiles sit at this user settings level, and they will create custom changes to the settings, so you can switch between profiles and really quickly switch between the different extensions, different themes, and settings and shortcuts, and yeah, basically completely change how your editor works. And that could be for like work and then personal. It could be you could have a work one for JavaScript/TypeScript, and then a work one for like Go, or however you want to set it up. I probably wouldn't go that granular, but you could, if you are really wanting your Visual Studio settings to be that different. Maybe you have some conflicting settings or whatnot. Anyway, so that's how I have mine set up. You do have, on top of your profiles, you have accounts. So you'll see this is Isaac Ledlow instead of I am Isaac Ledlow. So basically, the account that you sign into Visual Studio Code with is going to be either I think it's a Microsoft or a GitHub account, and that syncs like everything across. That's like the overarching highest level, and then beneath that, then you can have different profiles and all the settings and themes and here you can see the different contents. So settings, keyboard shortcuts, tasks, snippets, and extensions. These all are contained inside of profile. So anyway, all that to say, most of my settings are going to be exactly the same between personal content creation. Will probably create another profile for work, just so I can sync everything over. I just learned about how all of this is set up. I knew about it for a while and kind of had an idea about profiles, but I didn't really take full advantage of it. But it's super easy to come in here and, for example, like the font size, I can come in here and I can say, hey, this, like, I'm going to sync this across devices so that way I can be signed into my my account, Visual Studio account on a different laptop, and then still have this setting applied to a certain profile. I can sync it across profiles. So, for example, I kind of want my font size to be the same across all profiles. Like, that's just a personal preference I have. So I'm going to do that. All of these I have synced across everything. I just went up, so when you first come in to settings, which you can get to just by clicking settings profile, or you can come up here. There's a little filter where you can just say, hey, I just want to see what I've modified. So I haven't modified a whole lot. The main thing I've modified is autosave, which focuses on focus change. So switching between, does it give a, yeah, when the editor changes. So as long as I'm inside Visual Studio Code, it won't autosave. But as soon as I switch to another window, it'll autosave, which is pretty much what I want. I've switched back and forth between window and the editor. Window is, I forget actually which one is which, so I might have to switch back and forth. I think window is just like a window inside, like any of these windows, switching between any of these, and then focus changes on the actual whole editor. Yeah, anyway, I don't think it makes that big of a difference, but personal preference. So I've got that one set. I've got 13 pixels for font size instead of 12. I think it's a little easier to see stuff, and it, in my mind, the bigger the text you have, the less likely you're going to make mistakes because you didn't see something. So let me just pull settings over to the side. If I switch this to 12, like, this is the standard. It's fine and it's totally readable, absolutely, but I would rather have it set to 13. It makes it a little bigger, a little easier to see. I've seen people who have it set to 14, and that just, it feels like it takes up a lot of space on the screen and is like comically big. But personal preference doesn't really matter. Anyway, edited linking. This means that I can come in and, let's see if I can, like divider, I can edit that on one side and it's going to automatically update on the other side. That's freaking useful, super nice. There were extensions that you could install for VS Code for the longest time before they made it part of the settings. Setting my icon theme, this also doesn't really matter, but I think it's nice. None looks like that, pretty terrible. You've got the default, which looks like this. I don't like the default because any file that you have that's like a settings or config file is just going to show these brackets, and it's not very conducive to what the file actually is. I don't think it's that helpful. You've just got like the minimal. I've never used this one before. I thought this was a different one. Obviously you don't want to use that one. That's even less helpful. And then material icon theme is a theme pack that I installed. I think it's the best one. Also personal preference. The reason why I think it's the best one is because all the icons are very, very different when you're looking at them. Like the package.json, I can see, oh, that's a JSON node.js file. The settings are tsconfig, like it's very easy to see. So that's why I like it. There's also something else to call out. I think material icon theme, which looks like this. Here it is. I think they do the best job of creating different folder icons based on the name, and that's really helpful because otherwise you've just got a massive list of folders that all look the exact same. So I can see like public, node, source, assets versus yeah, okay, this one isn't showing like the actual folder icon, but you get the idea. Like it's much less visually, you can't pick it out as fast. So that's why I like it. Anyway, I'm spending quite a long time on this, so I'm gonna try and speed it up. This one is just the actual settings file that all of these are stored in, so I don't need to go over that. And then this is just me enabling certain file types in my spelling checker, which we'll go over there next and go over all of the extensions that I have. Code spell checker, super important. I don't know, like, enough said. I do have Grammarly installed on my laptop just as an actual app, but I don't like that interfering with my Visual Studio Code. It's not very helpful. GitLens, the main thing I use it for is this git blame, being able to see and quickly jump into the commit that was on that line. And then there's lots of other features. I do not use them all. I should get to know it a little better, but that's the main thing I use it for. That is super nice. The other thing that's nice is it pulls in all these different options down here to be able to quickly come into like branches and manage that. I can right click and I can say like, oh, like switch to another branch. If I had other branches, I could quickly pull in changes from that other branch into this branch. It makes it a little easier than the built-in Visual Studio Code, I think. Although I have not checked out built-in Visual Studio Code options for a while, so maybe that's changed. Back to extensions. IntelliCode, I just think it's helpful. So it makes your IntelliSense a little better. We already went over this. NPM IntelliSense, pretty obvious. It's for your NPM packages, IntelliSense. Path IntelliSense, also super helpful. This might be built into Visual Studio Code by now, I'm not sure, but it's got a bunch of downloads and I have it still installed. Prettier, pretty straightforward. It pretties up your code, keeps it consistent. It means you spend less time formatting your code and more time coding. Yeah. Also, if you have multiple people on the same project, it makes sure that everyone is consistent on their formatting, which means it's easier to read because you're not having to jump between different people's styles of formatting, which can be frustrating at first because it might be formatted in a way that you don't like. But trust me, you'll get used to it. And go read the Prettier website, and they talk about this is supposed to be a strict set of rules that everyone adheres to, and they've spent countless hours deliberating over exactly how they want to format it. So again, this is similar to what I was saying before of stick with the defaults. Like, people who are so much smarter than you and me and everyone else have spent a lot of time thinking and deliberating over this. So just stick with the defaults until you can really understand, like, well, why did they choose to do it this way? And then maybe you can create custom stuff. Prettier TypeScript errors, also pretty straightforward. It goes from these types of TypeScript errors, which are really hard to read, to just showing a more human-readable version of it. Super helpful. That honestly saves me so much time trying to debug. SVG preview, pretty simple. Previews SVGs. And then Tailwind IntelliSense, which is also really nice. So that's pretty much everything. Yeah, I'll probably create these every 6 to 12 months and just give an update on what I'm using. But that's it for now. See you guys.